Hey, how's it going? Coach Josh here. So today I want to talk about focusing on your mobility. So let's be honest. Mobility is something that majority of us don't really put too much attention into. It's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not like if you post a picture of you stretching on social media, you're going to get a lot of likes, right? But mobility is super, super, super important. All right. And we need to understand this, and we need to start making it a priority in our lives, because it's not just important inside of a gym, it's important outside of the gym. And we'll touch a little more into that in regards to quality of life. Now, when it comes to your mobility, when it comes to stretching, first I want to talk about the two different types. You have dynamic stretching, you have static stretching. Dynamic stretching is what you want to do prior to a workout, right? That's something where basically dynamic stretching is when you're moving, you're just moving your muscles, your ligaments, your joints for about 10, 15 seconds, nothing too deep. Once you complete your workout, when you're fully warm and you're completely done, that is when you go into your static stretching. That is when you go into that 60 to 90 second and you're sitting in a hip extension and you're really stretching out those hips. All right. That's really the difference between the dynamic and static and when you want to be doing those. Okay. Now, in regards to mobility and flexibility, a lot of times this gets interchanged. And the reason why I say mobility is because mobility is, at the end of the day, is what you really, really, really want to improve on. We all have flexibility. What I mean by that is this. Think of mobility as you getting into positions without any assistance. Flexibility, you get into position with assistance. So for example, let's say we're doing a front squat. You're able to get in that front squat position without me having to lift your elbows. Versus flexibility, you get into position, you're here, but then I come under and I lift your elbows with my hands or with a stick, and I get you into position. That's flexibility. So just know the difference between mobility and flexibility, and know, understand why mobility is very, very important, because I want you to be able to get into position on your own. All right. Now, here's a little pyramid that CrossFit introduced to us, and it makes perfect sense. All right. So they've created, this is the hierarchy of your mobility. The base is your mobility. The more you're able to get into positions, the greater your mechanics will be, the stronger you will be, because your mechanics will be that much better. So understand that if you're just trying to force your body into certain positions that your body is not comfortable in getting on its own, that only leads to injuries. So for example, if I know that my overhead position finishes right here, and then, and let's say that's with a stick. Let's say I grab a 95-pound barbell, is loaded, and I force it all the way above my head. I don't have the mobility to get there. So all I'm doing is straining and really hurting my shoulders. I might get that weight above my head, but now what I'm doing is potentially creating an injury in my shoulders, which is not going to feel good. So improve your mobility. That will improve your mechanics. That will improve your strength. And that's what we put over here, right? Overall, why is it important to focus on your mobility? Your mechanics will improve. So if you take pride in your movement, if you want to move injury-free, understand your mechanics are very, very important. And it takes a while. Focusing on your mobility, and this is one of the things, it's a journey, right? To really, 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 really improve mobility, you have to be focused on it for a year and a half to 2 years in that certain particular position, right? Earlier I used the front rack position. You need to really be stretching out that position, really get into that position for a good year and a half, 2 years consistently, right? Even when you're not doing the work, it's just coming here, grabbing the stick, or even at your house and stretching out those lats, those triceps, those shoulders, your upper back, to make sure you are able to create a better front rack position. And it takes time, right? So that year and a half, 2 year journey might be a lot for a lot of individuals, but it's worth it at the end. Your mechanics will improve. And as I said, as your mechanics improve, you get into better positions, your strength will improve. Because now you're able to lift more weight in a safe manner. So let's say that you're going for a 1 rep max and you're doing a front squat. And currently right now, your 1 rep max front squat is at 135 because the barbell is completely off your shoulders and you're holding it in this position during your front squat. All right, you're at 135. And let's say you're like, you know what? I'm gonna try a new 1 rep max. And you're still in that same position. You put 145 under. And you're still in this position. Again, you're missing that lift because of your mechanics, which is keeping you from potentially getting stronger by lifting at a higher, like as we talked about earlier a couple of weeks ago, we talked about strength at 80%. So you're missing that lift at 80% of 145 because you're doing 80% of 135, if that makes sense. But let's say we improve our mobility, right? And now your 1 rep max is 145 and you want to work at 80% of your new 1 rep max. Well, that's higher than your old 1 rep max of 135 and that 80%. So now you're getting stronger, right? You're getting stronger. And for a lot of us, that's what we want. We want to get stronger. We want to see ourselves lift more weight. And even with your own body weight, being able to do kipping pull-ups, being able to get into that range to create a nice big kip so you can create enough power to put you above the rig, or even bar muscle ups, right? Toes to bars. All this stuff focuses on your mobility, but it makes your mechanics a lot better, and it makes you a lot stronger. I suffered a shoulder injury in my left shoulder due to my mobility when I was doing a bar muscle up. I went too big of a kip that I was out of my range and I messed up my left shoulder. So it does happen that we try to overdo it. It can lead to injuries. And then it puts a pause, or not, I won't say pause, but it puts a little setback on your fitness. Now I couldn't do as much as I want to with my left arm. I want you to think about your mobility as your vegetables, right? Again, earlier I said we don't put too much importance in mobility because it's not fun, it's not sexy. Same thing that if you grab your food, the carbs are fun. The protein is sexy. What we could, honestly, for most of us go without is vegetables, right? We get the carbs, we get our protein, we get our fats, we're happy. The vegetables though, without the vegetables, we all understand that we're not as healthy, or that meal is not as balanced. It is very, very important that we get that green in our bodies, right? Get those micronutrients inside of us. Think of vegetables as your mobility. Just because they're not fun, just because they're not sexy, does not mean they play a vital role in your overall fitness in your life, because they do. Mobility does play a vital role in your overall fitness and quality of life. Here, I wrote down go WOD or anything else. Now, for a lot of us, we don't know what to stretch. We don't know what to do, and that's perfectly okay. Download an app such as Go WOD. I've downloaded it. I get charged like $7 a month. It's completely worth it. I try to stretch out for about 4 or 5 times a week, and I do 8 minutes of stretch. Again, that's what works for me. 8 minutes right now. Now, for some folks, they do 30 minutes. Some folks do an hour. Some folks only do 2. Do whatever works for you right now, because it's better than 0 minutes. So again, if 5 minutes is what you can do a day for right now, awesome. Do that, because it's better than 0. All right. So download an app like GoWOD or download ROMWOD. There's plenty of apps out there that you can just download, follow, and just stretch along. And the last thing I want to talk about is the quality of life. Understand this. The reason why people go to nursing homes is because they lose the ability to move. Right? They're not able to bend. They're not able to lift things above their head. A lot of it has to do with their strength, right? But also a lot of it has to do with the mobility. They lose the mobility to grab something and put it above their head. They lose the mobility to be able to bend over and pick up something. They lose the mobility to be able to sit down or stand up. Again, it goes with the strength. We lose our mobility, we're going to lose our mechanics, we're going to lose our strength. So your mobility is huge in the quality of your life. If you ignore it now and you say, I'll worry about it later on, you won't. Put it in your schedules now. Put it again, like for a minute, 2 minutes. Start making it just as important as lifting weights, lifting your body weight, running, because it is, and if not, it's even more important. So make sure to focus on your mobility, because if you want to be the best you can be in this gym, you will. And then more importantly, if you want a great quality of life outside of this gym, you will.